This morning, the Biden team still insisting that Joe Biden is not going anywhere. The New Yorker's David Remnick going as far as to claim, quote, to step aside, telling Joe Biden to step aside and unleash the admittedly complicated process of locating and nominating a more robust and promising ticket seems the more rational course, and it would be an act of patriotism. This, as Hollywood donors are reportedly looking to pull the plug on their financial support if Biden doesn't drop out. Sunday Morning Futures anchor Maria Bartiromo joins us now. Maria, I have to tell you, this entire weekend, Will, Pete, and I have just been astounded at the thought that this cabal of people who put Joe Biden forward thought they could get away with this for so long, and they seem to think they still can. It's only voices like this person you're bringing up from the New Yorker and the voters who are saying this is not tenable anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Rachel. Now, all of a sudden, those very people who placed him in the office are saying, wait a minute, this has gone horribly wrong, given the fact that we watched it in real time, his raw performance and his obvious mental capacities issues. And that is what is the massive main topic du jour among Democrats this morning, and certainly right after that debate. This is a very serious subject, obviously, and now you have people talking about using the 25th Amendment to remove Joe Biden. It appears that Jill Biden, the First Lady, is fighting hard to keep her husband in place. We now have reports that they're going to be talking about it with their aides this weekend at Camp David. What to do now? Can President Biden continue his term in the next 5 months now that the whole world knows his vulnerabilities and incapacities after that debate? This morning, we are talking about that with congressional leaders. We've got Senate leadership with me this morning, John Barrasso, and I'm going to ask him, how serious is this conversation about the 25th Amendment?
Yes.
What should we be thinking for the next few months going into that election? There's a story of Representative Chip Roy. He's demanding that Kamala Harris remove Joe Biden via the 25th Amendment. And, Rach, I think it's really important to recognize this story is not just about Joe Biden. This is equally about Kamala Harris, because anyone voting for Joe Biden in this upcoming election must admit a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris for the next president. So when you think about the comparison, Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, how will the vice president do against Xi Jinping, against Vladimir Putin, against North Korea? I mean, all of these issues are front and center right now, something we've been talking about for a long time, but certainly front and center now for the Democrats needing to make a decision with just a few months before this election.
Maria, how does the 25th Amendment work? I excuse my ignorance on it, but I've heard of it. I know what it does. It removes the president, you know, if he's not capable of serving. But how does the process work?
Well, you have to get the okay and the directive from within the administration and Congress. Congress has to move this forward. Right now, this answer is in the hands of leadership in the Senate, Nancy Pelosi, the Clintons, President Obama. Anybody who was thinking that Joe Biden was not running the country and somebody else was, the Obama camp, is now justified in thinking, yes, that's true. So the 25th Amendment works after Congress says, yes, we are moving forward with the 25th Amendment to remove Joe Biden because he is incapacitated and cannot serve the office of the president. If it is agreed upon that he cannot serve the office of the president because of capacity issues, then they have a justification to say the 25th Amendment is the amendment to use to remove this president from office.
Yeah, it seems like that's the only way to go. It makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of American people think that's the common sense thing to do, given how dangerous our world is right now. And his camp saying he only operates between 8 and 4 in a dependable way. I mean, it's insanity. What do you have?
I have questions about that too, Rachel. Come on, 8 and 4. You really think Joe Biden is engaged to the hilt from 8 to 4? I have a question with that. I don't think that's true.
But even if that were true,
he has
Maria, even if that were true, that's not enough.
I'm sorry?
Even if that were true, that's still bad.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
8 to 4 is still bad, but I have an issue with that as well. We'll see. We're talking about also this morning, Rachel, this bombshell congressional report that was dropped last week about the intelligence community, how abused the intelligence community has become because of politicking, and what those 51 intelligence officials did by lying to the American people just weeks before the presidential election. I'm talking with Devin Nunes, former chairman of the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, as well as John Ratcliffe, the former DNI. And we're going to talk about that. How do you get the intelligence community back to doing what the intelligence community is supposed to do rather than politics?
That's a great question. Sunday Morning Futures, always the best guests and the best conversations. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you. See you in 10 minutes.
You got it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.